Hello guys and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to talk with you about several topics regarding the Battlefield 6 Season 2 patch that comes out tomorrow. Specifically, I wanted to discuss the Season 2 game update with balance changes, with the roadmap, and the overall state of the game that we have right now. Let's start with the game update. I know that pretty much every single content creator has already discussed this topic, but I have some thoughts to say too. And right from the start, I am really disappointed in that topic. And in some instances, I'm really frustrated with the decisions and the direction chosen by DICE. Don't get me wrong, I still believe that Battlefield 6 has a very strong and good foundation and everything can change for the good and right, but for now, it is what it is. We've got a pretty big patch note and we won't discuss every single thing pointed out here. At first glance, it seemed like DICE did a good job of fixing bugs and issues in Battlefield 6. Yes, they fixed many minor issues, some major issues, map issues, bugs, and it's a very big list. But when I was diving deep into that information, I found out that, unfortunately, it's more of a disappointment. And what I mean by that is, okay, they fixed many things, but it took 4 months to fix the firing range, for example. That's just a joke. And there are many things on the list like this one. I noticed things like stickers on the weapon are not working properly fixed, which are definitely not game breaking. And there are good fixes too, like the RPG that was not accurate after zoom transition, which was the big one and was addressed. But alongside that, we still have bugs such as with support ammo packs, where the animation cancels and you cannot shoot your weapon normally. And it is not addressed and there's no mention in the patch notes. Right now I'm not talking about content, which you don't get enough of. I'm talking about the things that are not being addressed or being addressed in a strange way. And that is what really makes me disappointed. Most of it comes from the balance changes or some mechanics and weapons. Let's look into it. Adjusted 3D spotting range from 75 to 54 meters. Well, that basically won't change anything in the game, cause most of the fights are happening within a 35 meters range at most, and snipers usually stay further away anyway. We don't have such big maps or such big ranges on our existing maps that it would be even close to changing something. So it's pretty much useless. Okay, the next one. Adjusting the range from 15 to 21 meters when firing suppressed weapons to be spotted on the minimap. I mean, that won't change almost anything, cause many people don't have good minimap control, but that change is not totally useless and will nerf suppressors a bit. Fixed consistency with recoil compensation, making sure that the amount of input needed to compensate for recoil matches the amount of recoil. What the fuck does that even mean? It gives some vibes of attachment descriptions that are totally unclear. I don't understand this change, even if it sounds big, we'll need to test it. Fixed an issue where locked weapon skins could be used in the firing range. Yeah, that's the big fix and change the game needed the most. Nerfed the impulse length of sliding by 25%. DICE nerfed movement, which was one of the most crucial skills and actually one of the only ways to deal with TTK and close quarter balance apart from using overpowered explosives or shotguns. This is, in fact, very skill dependent to properly execute. This is not good at all and it will lead for more passive and less dynamic gameplay. Or for example, reduce the mini-scout limb damage. So are they telling us that they have limb damage multiplier but they don't use it anywhere or on any automatic rifle in the game? So many people, including the big content creators, were screaming that it would improve the overall balance of weapons, cause you'll need to shoot more precisely to the torso. As of right now we have that big clunky hitbox. And it is already implemented in the game but not used? Well, I'll be real with you, that's some bullshit. But okay. That's the balancing, and they changed some of it here and there, and that's not the reason I'm most disappointed. The real disappointment is growing from the weapon recoil and balance tuning. First of all, AK-205 adjusted recoiler behavior to better match expectations of such caliber weapon. Okay guys, right now I don't know how exactly they adjusted the recoil behavior, but by phrasing it, it seems like they increased the recoil of this weapon. And to be fair, the AK-205 is one of the worst weapons in the game and really deserved some love. And if they are nerfing it with more recoil, it seems like Balance team never even tried to play this game. And if the recoil will be reduced, which is very unlikely, it will mean the same thing. This weapon doesn't need any recoil adjustment. It is already a long-range carbine with small damage, but you need to be very precise to make it work. It already has 2 times the time to kill parameter of many other weapons in the game, and adjusting recoil is not the issue to tune here. Well, okay, on to the next one. B36, L85, M433 and SOR5R6 reduced recoil randomness, improving consistency and effectiveness at longer ranges. Let's read that again. B36, L85, M433 and SOR556 improved effectiveness at longer ranges. That's gotta be an April Fool's joke that's coming out month earlier than it should. First of all, the B36, L85 and SOR556 are very precise weapons already right now, and they don't need that buff at all. And talking about the M433, it is one of the best weapons in the game, an S tier, and it's really good at every range, and the randomness of recoil was the only thing to make its strength a bit less, and they are actually getting rid of it. If they don't change anything else, the M433 will be the most overpowered weapon in Season 2, I believe. The DB12 increased rate of fire and faster pump action to improve reliability in close quarters combat. That one is actually very good. This shotgun was very underperforming, and I hope this change brings it back alive again. L11O reduced recoil. Okay. LMR27 increased damage at close to mid ranges to better reward accurate headshots. This one is good too. We need to see the specific changes in numbers, but it's good anyway. M123K reduced recoil. Well, okay, but I hope they won't reduce it too much. This gun was already good with its rate of fire and power. M277 reduced recoil, improving effectiveness at range. Okay, that carbine had a lot of recoil and maybe that's a good change. M417 and QBZ reduced recoil randomness. You had a laser gun? Now you've got an even better laser gun. For real, these guns didn't need that change, they are so precise in their base right now. Like, seriously, I use my QBZ without any recoil attachments at all, and it's very precise and very good. PW5 and SGX increased recoil to make them less precise at longer distances. Okay, that's actually a very good change. The SMGs are too strong at medium to long ranges right now. PW7 and USG90 adjusted recoil behavior to improve effectiveness at range while slightly increasing handling difficulty up close. Well, that's strange, cause the PW7 needed that close quarters handling more, and the USG is basically a close quarters weapon at its base. A very strange decision in my opinion. SCW10 increased recoil to reduce effectiveness at range. That's pretty good. This gun was overpowered and now it will be in a better state. SG553 increased recoil to limit effectiveness at range. Well, okay, that gun was very good at close range and they want to limit it at medium ranges. That seems like a good one. SOR300 adjusted recoil to ensure it remains competitive alongside updated assault rifles. Again, we don't have information on how exactly the recoil will be adjusted. We'll need to test that. And alongside that we have many other changes for UI, HUD, maps and modes. But the thing we don't get is the improvement of a weapon progression system. Again, everybody was talking about it many times for several months, and it's very strange that in Battlefield 6 we need 800 to 1000 kills to get all the attachments on the weapon, while in previous titles like Battlefield 2042 for example, we needed 320 kills only. Yes, I understand and I'm totally okay with the fact that you get the unique ultimate skin for the weapon at around the 1200 kill mark, but I'll never agree to the attachment progression marks. And that is really one of the things that frustrates me the most, because really every single person was talking about it for almost 5 months right now. Again, I may sound very negative here, but that doesn't mean that I have no faith in the future of this game. I truly believe DICE has all the chances to make it great, like it was with the beta and everything. What I'm talking about here is just pure facts and not hate. Okay, let's move on to the Season 2 roadmap. I've divided all the content shown here into 3 categories. The first one is the green category, the things I believe everybody wants to see in the game, and the more, the better. The second is yellow category, and it's the things we are okay with, but they are not necessary for the gameplay and to keep people in the game. And the red category is the things I personally don't care about at all, and I think many people are thinking the same way. This one includes limited time modes, red sack mode changes, and an additional battle pass path. I personally would have preferred that DICE swap all these red items with providing players with an additional 1 or 2 maps per season. I'm not a game developer myself, but I believe since Battlefield has so many very good and polished legacy maps, it would be way easier to import them into Battlefield 6, as they did it with Battlefield 2042. There's already so much content that they don't need to waste that much money and time on them. And they don't need to rebalance these maps, they don't need to do anything special. Just simply import them to Battlefield 6. Yes, I understand that it can take some time, but I believe it's way easier to import old maps than to develop a limited time mode that will be played for a month and then just deleted. And from a player's perspective, I would strongly like that decision and go just play some Erika Harbour instead of thinking that there's not enough content in the game. Okay, let's dive into interesting things a bit. Tomorrow, February 17th, we get the Contaminated Zone, a new map with a very good and promising layout, at least based on what is seen in the teaser trailer. It will get us some fun at least for a couple of weeks. Next we've got a Little Bird, 3 new weapons and 2 new gadgets. The Little Bird is that good old vehicle that I believe should have been in the game right from the start. And talking about 3 new weapons, it's okay, it will provide some fun time. The 2 new gadgets will need to play with a bit to find out are they even good or interesting or not. Next, after the first month, we get the second part of the season on March 17. New map, Hedgental Base. Everybody's talking this is the new metro of Battlefield 6, and I'm highly interested in it. I've played tons of hours in Battlefield 3 and Operation Metro, and I really like the mid-grind maps. It's very promising, and I hope DICE won't fuck it up. Additionally, we get a new vehicle which is a dirt bike, and 2 new weapons, an SMG and a new sidearm. As for the bike, that's okay, a new vehicle is good anyway. And 2 new weapons with Anovan beam sidearm, well, it's not much for a month of gameplay. In the third part of the season we get access to an operation, and that would be great, but for some reason it's a time-limited mode. DICE is making so much time-limited content that I don't really understand why. Guys, tell me what you think. Do you like that time-limited content? Or would it be better if they used those resources to make more maps or bring legacy maps back? Tell me in the comment section below. And lastly we get 1 more new vehicle and the machete. Well, the machete is just a new reskin for a knife, so not that important, and the new vehicle seems like a new transport without guns, or at least I don't see one. And that's all we get for the next 3 months. I personally don't think that's much of a content, to be fair. But it is what it is. Everything highly depends on just how good the maps and the weapons are, and how good the battle pass will be. Yes, it's not that important for the gameplay part, but it's something for players to grind. Let's move on to the game state we have right now. It's not optimistic at all. We can clearly see here the mighty downfall of Battlefield 6. It has already lost 90% of the all-time peak in player base from its release, and that's very sad. Of course, many games lose audience in 4 to 5 months after release, and that's totally normal. But man, Battlefield 6 has such a strong foundation, and an unimaginably good start. The most sold game of 2025. It was one of the best betas in many years. And now we have this. I personally believe that there are 3 biggest reasons for such downfall. Not enough content. That easily could have been addressed with importing legacy maps, but we have nothing. Weapon progression. It is not addressed at all, and is very unbalanced in terms of time to play ratio. It's simply too hard to obtain all attachments for weapons. Many people spend days on one weapon only. It is not okay in any universe. And last but not least, the fixes direction. It is very disappointing to look at the firing range not working properly for 5 months after release, or visual inconsistency where you simply don't see your enemy, or the exposure change after going into building which is not working properly to this day. I won't even talk about sound issues where you can't hear some important audio cues and steps when a person is rappelling or running behind. All of that makes the game less enjoyable for me, and I believe I am not the only gamer here. DICE really needs to start addressing such global and crucial parts of the game if they want their game to stay alive. And you know what? They have all the cards for that, as the foundation for the game is great. Just switch direction a bit, do the right things, and this will be the best Battlefield game ever. And I really mean that. I love the Battlefield series and I believe they can do the right things. And that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section down below. Press the like button if you liked the video and dislike if you didn't, and press that subscribe button for the future content. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.